I'm
Spirits, psychics, everything paranormal. For more information, go to www.portaltalkradio.com. Now, Portal Paranormal Talk Radio brings you your hosts.
Welcome to Portal Paranormal Talk Radio. I'm your host, Tuesday Miles.
And I'm Angela Thomas.
And Angela, we're back on Sundays again.
Well, our first special Tuesday after our 1-year anniversary. But normally we are recorded in prime time on Fridays.
Well, we're live on Fridays, actually.
Absolutely.
On it. We have archives, but we are always live. And we have an excellent guest joining us today.
I'm so excited.
I'm excited, too. We've been waiting a long time for this gentleman to be on our show.
Well, internationally renowned Derek Acorah is on today's special.
Absolutely. And we have Derek right now. I believe, Derek, are you there?
I am, Tuesday, yes.
Welcome, Derek. Thank you for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
You're in Spain right now, aren't you?
I am, yes. I'm relaxing at my home in Spain with my wife, Gwen.
Well, this is amazing. The fact is that we can interview you in your own home, and we're in our own home, and and we've been waiting a long time, and you have a lot of fans here in the United States.
Really?
You do.
We have a lot of fans in the United States and all over the world.
Actually, all over the world.
Well, they are lovely people who support the work that I do, and I'm a very fortunate man to have these people think so highly.
I was looking at of course, reading up lots about you, and I noticed that your birth last name is Johnson. How did you come up with the last name Acorah?
Right. Acorah, that name was brought about by my grandmother, who was a medium before me, and she actually married a man called Richard Acorah. And Gran used the name Acorah. And she said to me, Derek, later on when you come into the work and do the work as strongly as what I feel that you will do, please, it would be beneficial to use and continue the name on.
Absolutely amazing. So she was a psychic medium herself.
She was. And women before her in my family, going way back. The most funny thing, or ironical thing, is that Gran sat me down and said to me, do you know something, son? You've broken the mold. You're the first male in the family. It's always been the ladies.
But you're not the first male that was born. You're just the first male that actually is in tune with your gifts.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So you grew up then with all of the awareness. Is that correct, Derek?
I did. I had a number of experiences from a very tender age of 6. It was quite amazing, really, because as I had these experiences, I would immediately report back to Gran and tell my Gran that I really didn't want to be like her. Although I loved her dearly, what I meant was I didn't want to. I used to call psychics in my younger years gooks. And I said, Gran, I don't want to be a gook like you. I said, I've got something
that's very, very charming.
Does that mean horrible? What does that mean in...
A gook? Well, in my mind, I don't suppose it's in the dictionary, but in my mind it meant all things paranormal, anything to do with the unknown and things like that. And I didn't want my friends to think I was strange, which a lot of them thought I was, especially if I voiced something. I said something that was, touched upon a core or something in my friends' homes with their mums and dads. I think at one point in time, ladies, I didn't get invited round to a lot of my friends' homes because of I'd no sooner walk in and I might start talking about something, an attachment or something in the home, that they would look at me and say, well, he's never been here before. How does he know that is in our house?
Right.
And I'd come out with these statements. In the end, my Gran said, son, I think it would be very wise of you to stop. When you get your utterances, don't say them. Just keep them in thought.
So keep it to yourself otherwise on that one, so on it. And you were teased. Were you teased, though, Derek?
Yes, I suppose I was. You know something? I was more teased not by the younger people that I knew, such as like friends, boys, girls, and whatever, but more so by their maybe older brothers or even their own parents.
Right.
And they'd tease me. They, if they saw me, I was going to school. They'd make little utterances like, "Whoa, there's the ghosty boy," and things like that.
That's not nice.
Well, Derek, I would like to turn a little bit to your professional career.
Yes.
And if I'm counting it right, you have done at least 8 different TV shows, either about ghosts or about psychics. Am I correct when I say that your first television show was called Lifetime, before the Psychic Zone and Predictions with Derek Acorah and Connections in Los Angeles?
It was Lifetime, yes.
And how did that come about? How did you get started from being the incredible psychic that you are to all of a sudden going to mass media?
Okay. In those days, I had my own office space in the Liverpool City Centre where I used to go along and start at 9 a.m. in the morning to do private consultations, readings for people. And I'm driving to work this one morning, and my phone rang, and it was my wife who said that how far was I from my office? And I said maybe another 10 minutes drive. She said, well, you're going to get a surprising call from Granada TV. And I said, what, really? What do they want? And she said, well, they've not said, they just want to speak to you. So I stopped talking to my wife, and of course my phone did ring a minute or two later, and it was a producer of this program called Lifetime TV, asking me would I come to the studios the following week and to do a private reading on air, on camera, which is a 1 hour live program, and I said yes, I would. I went along, and I was introduced to the producer, the director, the lady presenter, Becky Want at the time, and Becky regaled me with, Derek, I'm the person, I'm the subject that you're going to do the reading for, where it's going to be on camera, we're both going to be sitting on the couch, and you're going to tell me things about me, and so on and so forth. Are you happy with that? And I said, well, I suppose I am, yeah. So I go into the studios, a nervous wreck, and sat on the couch, and
that was a long time for when you first start off. I mean, it's very uncomfortable at first because you're not sure what you're doing, or nervous about it. But an hour is actually a long time for a show like that. And
well,
it was just you on the show. Did you have a co-host?
No, there was a co-host. But what they did, because seemingly I was accurate for Becky so much so, they put callers on the line and really put me into a bit of a problem in the sense, will you take the calls from the callers and tell them things from their voice vibration? Now, I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
But I did. I opened up, and I did, in that hour, I believe, seven readings. And from there, well, it was history. I got a monthly contract and a yearly contract. Then they produced and developed all the other programs for me. And I had a very happy 5 years at Granada TV.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful.
Well, I'm sorry, Angela, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, taking at least 7 calls live and working spontaneously, that's got to be a lot of pressure going on.
Yeah.
So after Lifetime, then they introduced the Psychic Zone. Did you do both shows at the same time, Derek, or were they separate?
They were both separate, but what they did, because of the success of the shows and the ratings of the viewers, they caused a second Lifetime. It used to go out every Friday between the hours of 6 and 7 p.m. live. So they introduced a Wednesday Lifetime because the program had progressed.
Oh, wow.
So then they introduced the other programs on other evenings. So basically, I must admit, when I started doing predictions, the program Predictions, I used to do 4 shows per day with 2 different audiences. And
oh, my goodness.
That was heavy.
I'm sure it was, honestly.
That was heavy. But, you know something? I enjoyed it so much, it didn't feel such a burden.
Well, what a blessing it was to be able to do all of that at the same time.
Absolutely. I was finding things out about myself as I was going along. that side of my nature anyway, was that maybe Gran always used to say to me when I was a younger man, listen, you'll have the stamina to do many things. Of course, I didn't, not that I didn't believe my grandmother, it just seemed a little bit, when she was just maybe trying to encourage me. And looking back on it, I think Gran was right in the sense that, you know, I found a stamina, a spiritual stamina.
Yeah, but, you know, there's something further with this, though, Derek, because, you know, I mean, not to say that there's a great psychic medium on every corner, but there is a psychic medium on every corner. And the fact of it is that not all of them get the opportunity what was presented to you. So sometimes I really believe Spirit works with us on that aspect, that brings the right person to that spot for this reason.
Yeah, I'd like, it'd be very nice to think that way. But, you know, I suppose looking back after all these years now, you know something, ladies, I'm still enjoying my work so thoroughly in a depth that is even surprising me, my thoughts.
Absolutely. And let me add this, though, too, Derek, because you didn't get this stuff where you were at for free. You didn't get this because someone handed it to you. You worked your butt off to get where you're at.
Well, I like to think I've worked very hard over the years, yes.
Absolutely, you know, I mean, and I really wanted to make that point because, you know, we get a lot of flack, you know, and here and there, the fact of it is that, oh, you're good, you're not good, this and this and that. But the fact is you're working really hard. This is not something that comes, you know, and especially using your energy, you know, we're dealing with this side of life and those who have crossed over on the other side.
Yes.
So we get double the trouble, huh?
Yes, we do.
We do, honestly.
Well, Derek, let me ask you a question. With you, you know, you're internationally renowned, and you're traveling all over the world. As a psychic, have you ever had difficulty crossing from one culture into the other with your work?
I've been pleasantly surprised by this until actually doing an experience, and I wondered. But, you know, I've been to a number of places where, as you say, the different cultures, and I haven't really, in honesty, come across many problems. I'm able to communicate with the spirit side as they do me, and, you know, whatever information is required or needed to pass on to the receiver, it seems to come through. So, no, I've got to admit, I haven't had many problems that way.
Well, I can see that you have what I want to call an entourage behind you, because I've seen many spirits that are actually working with you. I mean, there's not just one, which we'll talk about later.
Yes.
You do have a special connection with a special guide, but, you know, many that's behind you on this. Now, when you have your next 4 shows. Let's go. It's Most Haunting, Antique Ghost Show, Derek Acorah's Ghost Town, and Paranormal Egypt. But on Most Haunting, do you enjoy doing ghost hunting, paranormal investigation?
I enjoyed thoroughly. I would say the first 100 shows.
Okay.
They're based over probably 6.5, 7 series, and I enjoyed the first 19 Most Haunted Lives. But it was getting to a point where I was asking myself the question, you know, is this going to be forever? You using that word, ghost hunting, spirit hunting. Right. And I felt I needed a rest from that way of working, and to refresh, if you like. Refresh inwardly, outwardly, by having a break from that, which I've managed to do.
Well, you know, with Most Haunted and Most Haunted Live, here in the United States, we saw, you know, your incredible work going on, but I have to tell you, Derek, I had received phone call after phone call saying, quick, have you seen this Derek Acorah guy? And I said, well, yes, I have, as a matter of fact. And they said, amazing. He's amazing, don't you think?
But,
and I said, absolutely.
You know, Angela, how many ghosts can you really investigate? I mean, the fact of it is, and most time, and I don't know if you agree with this, though, Derek, the ghosts that you're investigating aren't always in the happiest place.
No, they're
so,
not.
you know, you're dealing with some grouchy ghosts here and there.
Absolutely.
How do you handle that, Derek, if you've gone to a particular place that, let's say, the spirit did not pass naturally. They
Yeah.
pass in let's say, a bad way.
Well,
How do you handle that as a psychic and a medium?
Well, one of the first things that I've always felt as if I needed a great tool, a simple tool, but a great tool, to link with a spirit person who's unfortunately left their physical life in a nasty or negative way, is to be in empathy and a sympathizing approach to them, in trying to let them know that as best as I can, I understand their terrible position, and then to back that up is to explain to them why I am there, not just as an investigator, but to help this poor wretched soul.
right.
Maybe to, go to the rightful place for the first time, face what needs to be faced, and they would be much happier. Being between the two worlds is not a nice, happy place for them. Whether they were the wrongdoers of negativity or evil themselves, or they were the recipient of a wrongdoer and what have you, really, basically, they both are the same in my mind to this day, because both are children of God, and as we all are, as I feel, and every one of us deserves the right to eventually grow and progress to what our Father God wants us to.
Certainly, certainly. How often have you ever been attacked, Derek?
A lot.
A lot?
A lot.
Has that frightened you?
At times, it's not so much frightened me, but it's made me become more deeply aware of what I'm dealing with, how I'm going to handle it, because one investigation is never quite the same as another. And the contents of negativity or imbalance or disharmony is going to reflect, I suppose, in investigations more on myself than maybe my colleagues who I'm working alongside in that investigation. I've got that added responsibility to take on that negativity and make sure that the others are adequately protected from that negativity, and for me to deal with it. That's why I'm there as a spirit medium.
Absolutely on that, and it is a tough situation. Now, you brought up that word God, and I have this horrible habit of asking every time someone brings up God, do the spirits talk about God?
I've had a number of conversations with a number of spirit people who, yes, they have discussed God. Yes, they do bring into the conversations. Generally, I find it's only when you inquire yourself as the instrument, the medium, the go-between. If you prompt them, they will answer you. If you prompt them on any subject, they will answer you, or best part answer you. And I prompted a number of them, and you know something, not one of them, though, can, when I look back, talk about the Godhead, the power of God, much more than what we can.
Very interesting.
See,
very
I've asked
interesting.
that, question, and all over from many of our guests, and there's that question. They say, well, you know what? It's funny because I've asked them, and they seem to kind of ignore the question or move around the question. And I said, one of them's got to answer us, because I've had them do that to me too.
Yes. But the thing is, a spirit, as you both know, lovely ladies, that a spirit has the free will, as we have in this, a physical life's incarnation. When we're freed from the vehicle, the body, at death, the spirit, transcends and soars, and it is still a conscious, as you know, living entity, and also has the understanding still and personality trait to exercise their free will, just as we do here in the physical life.
Right. That's a good point, Derek, and a lot of people don't understand that.
Oh,
yes.
That was well said.
I think that a lot of people assume that spirits are almost living in a circus environment,
Yes.
And should answer any medium's questions whatsoever.
Or answer to God, and the fact of it is that
exactly.
we see it as not having enough consequences, but whether they have universal law where they're at, I don't know. Do you find that they have a universal law or code of honor, code of ethics?
There is an order, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there is an order. A lot of people do, in words term it universal law, and there is a universal law.
Okay.
However, I've found in conversing with individual spirit people, going from the base of a person who's just an ordinary person in life, who's not really done a great deal, then passed over and is still learning from that side of life, as opposed to a highly attuned spirit communicator.
Okay.
And the more highly attuned, they are more in verse with the universal laws.
Oh, okay.
The ones who are not, just ordinary people who've gone over and what have you, they are not, how's the right word? They are not as astute or as understanding of the laws.
Okay, I'm conscious of it, right. Okay, so now I understand why that one spirit told me, yeah, right, lady, uh-huh.
Yes.
You have to obey the law. Here's one.
Well, Derek, you have gone to many, many different places to do your investigations, and I understand that you won awards, the Telly Awards, when you investigated in England and the Belgrove Hall. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, well, in those days, which was very pleasurable, I worked with the ISPCR, and Dr. Larry Mons was the heading of the group, and we as a group, decided to bring the team over from America, from California, over to England to do the investigation at Belgrave Hall. Also, there's around that time as well, there was a worldwide, apparently, there was supposed to be a phenomena that had taken place at Belgrave Hall, which alerted Dr. Larry Mons to bring the team over to find out whether this was true natural phenomena or whether it was just something that was not. We found it to be, it was not a phenomena caught on CCTV cameras. It turned out it was a leaf, and with it being in the winter time, the water, and it made it look as if there was something floating and going across the outer grounds of Belgrave Hall. We then did the investigations at Belgrave, and they were thoroughly, let's say, enjoyable. And we also, that was under the a DVD called Ghosts of England. And we'd also done investigations in Los Angeles.
You have been
Yes.
to Los Angeles.
Yes.
I read about that.
We did, up in the hills, in the Hollywood Hills, a place called the Pink Mansion.
Yes.
Yes.
We went there. We did an investigation there. We did also at the person who owned this particular home had the famous nightclub with all the great comedians of the day all worked. And I'm trying to, ladies, you'll have to forgive me, I can't remember the name. Was it Ciro's?
Yes, it was.
And
I believe
we did
that
an
was
investigation
Belushi.
there.
There was several other comedians that they have tried to connect with.
Was that through your Connections in Los Angeles show?
Yes, it was. And as I say, we enjoyed those. Now, I know both these, let's say, programs gained awards.
They did. They did.
I didn't
Predictions
actually.
and also Predictions and Psychic Living also received awards.
Yes, well, Living TV, yes, we did. We actually, again, I don't know the name of it. We won one in New York.
They're
won.
called the Emmy Awards.
Was it the Emmy?
The Emmys, uh-huh.
Okay, and we also we had Living TV won the top or the best non-terrestrial TV station of the year in 2006 because of Most Haunted.
Which is it's a very high honor, actually. It's almost like winning an Academy Award.
Well, I got one that I couldn't believe. I just couldn't believe it even to this day. In 2004, I was actually on stage in a lovely place in England called Torquay, And it was a sellout theatre this evening, and I'd come from my dressing room to go and conduct the last section of my evening in communications with the spirit people. And suddenly the whole theatre went quiet and then screaming and whatever. And David Bull, who is our presenter on Most Haunted Lives, come walking out rather quickly, and I couldn't believe my eyes. What is David doing here at this theatre? And he was there to award me as Personality of the Year,
Oh, cool.
2004, by the British Public and Artists.
What an honor! That would have been a great moment.
It's called the Variety. It was called the Variety Club of Great Britain. I got the Personality of the Year 2004.
Oh, well, congratulations.
I couldn't believe it.
Belated, of course, but congratulations.
Was Gwen there? Did she see you get that award?
She was. Yes, she was there in the theatre.
Oh.
I couldn't really speak at the end because David said to me, would you like to say a few words? And I said, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I can't really speak. It's unbelievable. And I think that's all I uttered.
Well, what an honor. And I think that says a lot about your work, Derek.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this doesn't happen as far as ghost shows. I mean, the fact of it is that, it's your show, I think, has been the one that's only been recognized in that aspect.
Mm. Yeah,
so, I can't say that from where you're at, but I know over here in America, none of them's been recognized in that aspect. Okay, I want to jump back a little bit because Angela jumped a little bit forward. I want to talk about two things. Antique Ghost Show and the Psychometry. I love that, and I think that would be a great show.
Well, that was one that I truly loved as well. And I was disappointed when the TV network didn't pick it up again, for a second series, because there's so much to do with the psychometry and these articles, of history and artifacts and antiquities. And I always thought, I really did, I always thought that if the television company who produced the first series, someone else would come along and maybe, want to do a show with them, so to speak, but it hasn't come along, and I just sit patiently waiting to see.
Well, there's so many problems that we have going out to these private residents that all of a sudden are starting to have some activity or something, and we find out that it's a piece of furniture or jewelry or something antique that they have. And the fact is, I thought that would be such an interesting show to do on it, and or even to let go on it. I'm hoping that they really think about picking that back up again. Let's just go to your last show. This is the last show that Derek Acorah did, or last series was your Paranormal Egypt.
Yes.
How did you end up in Egypt?
Well, when I first started with Living TV, the pioneer, I called him the spiritual warrior. His name was Richard Wolfe. He was the man who accepted all the paranormal programs. He was the one who had the vision in England to see that people would love these programs. And I was sitting having lunch with Richard and my wife Gwen, and he talked to me about projects. What did I have in mind? What would I really like to do? And I talked about always wanting to go to Egypt, because we'd been out for a very short period of time as a family, and found it very, very, excuse me, ladies, very interesting. The time, the age, and the going back of thousands of years of the pharaohs and their wives and other people. It would be fantastic to go and do a paranormal show if we could get the in by the Egyptian government to go and do these investigations.
Right.
And when it came up, I just couldn't really grasp it. I thought, Dr. Hawass, head of antiquities across Egypt, is saying yes to us.
Wow.
The Egyptian government saying yes. They would open up tombs that had never been opened up before, so I could go in. I said, this is like a dream. And, of course, when we arrived there was an entourage of Egyptian officials that followed us everywhere. There was something like 30 in the crew, but about 600 Egyptians. And some of them were, we had the police, we had the army, we had the special forces around us. And especially we went into Cairo Museum, and we were there on a vigil in the evening time, the night time, right the way through till 7 a.m. in the morning. And it was just amazing. That's when I was asked to link with a mummified remains of an Egyptian. No names were talked about, or any way, shape, or form, male or female, nothing. Derek, will you just, look down into that area where that mummified remain is and tell us a little bit about him or her? And I said to Sam, you've got to help me here, mate. You've really got to help me with this.
Well, they really did believe in spirit. I mean, they feared spirit and what they did, in the Egyptian days. And
yes.
Many
Oh, yeah,
of them
great
spoke about
respect
it still
for the
to this
spirit
day.
world.
That's, I don't know, I'm not real educated on why they mummify all the relatives and stuff, but the fact is that they were very much involved with spirit on it. And, it's funny,
yeah.
my daughter has a connection with Egypt, and she's had this love for Egypt since she was born.
Really?
And we always felt that maybe there was a past life that was connected with her on it.
Yes.
On it. Very interesting on it. Ghost Town. Derek Acorah's Ghost Town.
Yes. Well, Derek Acorah's Ghost Towns again was brought about by my sitting down with Richard Wolff, the great man, and telling him that I wanted to go to the public, go to the people, go to the people's homes where they've got problems, where a lot of people have been scared up until watching Most Haunted to speak about their experiences through fear of ridicule or fear from their contemporaries or even their friends or even family members. Now they were coming out in the droves because they got so used to watching the likes of Most Haunted that they wanted to tell their stories. They wanted to come out for the first time and say, hey, what was happening in their homes, or what was happening in their workplace, or what was happening in their places of leisure. And we were flooded. The network was flooded with places right across Great Britain wanting us to come along and they had this problem or they had that. And, of course, Ghost Towns was born. Again, we thoroughly enjoyed those communications. Some of them were a bit airy. Some of them were a little bit, harsh at times.
Okay.
Especially when I seemed to be going through a period of time where I was channeling quite a number of these spirit people. Unfortunately, there was a lot of them with the negatives.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a good feeling.
And it's not a good feeling, and most of the times there are on it. In California, though, Derek, they're using your films at 2 universities in parapsychology to teach. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yes, in UCLA, and there's another one, I believe, up there in Berkeley that they're using your films to teach parapsychology. Absolutely.
Wow.
That's a big
It
honor.
is an honor.
That is a big honor. The fact of it is that they, you're teaching others skills to continue work and on the other side of the world.
That is fantastic. I'm really thrilled over that.
That is fantastic.
Well,
Angela?
perhaps they can invite him to UCLA to do a one-on-one demonstration.
Well, I would like that because he would be in my neck of the woods then.
Well, I'll fly out there and join you.
And then I'll have to just fly back with him to Spain. That would be great.
There you go.
There we go.
Well, Derek, out of all of the 8 shows that you have done, which one is your most favorite?
My most favorite. All of them on merit are differences of how I've worked with the spirit realms. Hand on heart, I would say Ghost Towns would probably win it for me in the sense that I was out there with the people, with the public.
Okay. Certainly.
And those people are on the day, living now, were being helped free themselves from the nightmares that were happening around their lives presently. To sort that out, that's got to be a big merit for me as a spirit medium.
Well, I certainly hope that, you are able to come to the United States and offer some of the same things. We do get a lot of emails and a lot of phone calls with people asking for help.
That's a big hint. Hint, hint.
Yes.
Well, you know, Derek, out of all of the shows and the travels that you've gone through, is there one particular experience that you've had that truly stands out?
Yes. Not what we call a particularly good experience,
Okay.
but certainly stands out, was that when we did in the Most Haunted programming an investigation at what we call the Pendle Hills, where we were confronted with 9 energies, negative energies, in the one particular place.
Oh, my.
And those energies went back for over 400 years, and they were particularly nasty, negative women, believe it or not, and they were classified in their day as witches. And I'm not talking about witches that, would link with just Mother Earth. I'm talking about people who did despicable things, the dark side of stuff. And I had to confront these. And I told Yvette and Carl, who were the production company, look, we shouldn't really be going in and tangling with this lot, because I'm responsible for you. I'm also responsible for myself. And although I know I've got Sam and other helpers and what have you, this is an unseen force that I don't know whether I could control the end result. And basically, because you're not trained mediums and understanding, I would be in a terrible predicament if things went radically wrong and you were all hurt and affected. I was told to really hush up about that because we had to do the program.
Right.
And we went in and we did battle. And it was the most alarming experience to date of my mediumship work, where I saw every single crew member go down one way or the other, knocked down like pinballs. And to see some of the crew in miserable states for hours afterwards. Now, when I was told then we were going to have to go back to the place, I said, oh no, we've not even been allowed to release or even try and take away those negatives from the place. So basically they could be stronger again with more intent.
Yeah, right.
But I was ushered down again, and we had to go back there, and we did it. But this time, thankfully, I managed to disperse a lot of these negative energies. So it was rather, not pleasant, but it was rather a different sort of experience, especially when I was allowed to go along and cleanse it. That really thoroughly thrilled me.
I never thought about the fact is that, being the fact that when I say a true witch, and that's, in itself, that I'm just, thinking that I wonder if they still continue to use their incantations on the other side. In that respect, I mean, I would say I don't see why not. Angela, what do you think about that?
Well, I've really never given it a thought, but, Derek, it sounds to me like, you were very responsible up front.
Yeah, really.
And I'm sure that, you would use a lot of discernment if anybody asked you to go into the same place again.
That's right. The thing is, all's well that ends well in that entirety. But saying that, the people who were wanting to go back were people who were really just interested in the idea. It got that particular show got particularly high ratings. In other words, a lot of people were watching again, and they wanted a repeat of it in the figures.
Yeah. Yeah, but
and how dangerous, huh?
Right,
Absolutely.
they're not the ones that have to put up with all that stuff.
That's right.
I mean, it's not their stomachs that feel like they have 1,000 worms that are crawling through it. I mean, it just gives you that very sick feeling, especially when your energy's been affected. And it does happen. I've been knocked down on my butt before a couple times, and it's not fun. It really isn't. And it's funny because I was kidding with your wife, Gwen, when I was talking with her, and she was talking about how sometimes the word power is used, and I says, my husband, he doesn't tell me any lies or does anything wrong because he thinks now that I have powers.
Yes.
And so but that's the thing, is that we use our powers. It's us using our own energy and our and our higher source.
Yes.
It takes a lot from us. So
it does.
On it. Well, that's when you can see something move forward and see the area become clearer and lighter, and and that's a good thing. It's not an easy job to do on it. It really isn't on it. Let's move forward, Angela, on this. We have we're almost done with this subject, so we can get away from that. We have a couple more questions for you on it. With all those TV shows about ghosts, it seems that the world would run out of places to investigate ghost activity. Have you seen actually an increase or a decrease in ghost activity, Derek?
Well, I've seen an increase. I won't say a dramatic increase, but an increase all the same over this last maybe 5 to 7 years.
Okay.
And that increase, again, I feel has been borne out by, I'm a believer, advocate of this especially, that I've been told by Sam, my guide, and other helpers that at times will say that the spirit world are speeding up things to make sure that in this day and age now, as we've entered this period, that they want people to be more conversed into the reality of a life after the physical life here. So the spirit people have been right behind this, in the sense of, people experiencing phenomena, whether it be in their own homes or whether for the first time in their lives they've seen an apparition that maybe before that experience they never would have believed that there was, such thing, or, things like the paranormal. They just wouldn't believe it. Maybe they're deeply skeptical-minded or they were cynical-minded. And then for these people to suddenly get these experiences, well, they're asking questions and they're coming forward and they're saying to people like ourselves as mediums, hey, what's the reality of this? Is it so? Well, yes, it is. Well, I want to know more. So, of course, as people are asking, they want to know more, they want to see more, the spirit people are trying to respond from their side, as trying to, and I don't like to use the word perform, but trying to bring about a lot more phenomena, and this is why you've seen this speeding up. And it's not just in one country, it's across the world.
Yeah, I agree with you. But, the Vatican also, too, now hosts classes for their priests, which are, some of them are required to go in and take a six-week course on exorcism. And it seems that it's all, a majority of it is all in Italy and all back in the countries back in throughout there that, is there something that we really need to know about? I mean, the fact of it is that, each priest now has to go through an exorcism class.
Yes. I've heard that,
yes. I don't like that stuff at all.
Well, more people are aware and becoming aware and utilizing some of their abilities as a psychic or medium, and naturally I think that, negative entities are also, showing themselves. So that's why there's been a revamp of exorcisms within the Catholic Church. Derek, I do want to switch over now to your gifts.
Do you want to take a break? Do you want to drink of water, Derek? Cause
I wouldn't mind. Can you, if you just hold on a moment, I'll get a drink of water.
So let's make him comfortable. Sorry, Angela, I didn't mean to
That's quite all right. That's quite all right.
I won't keep you a moment.
Okay. We're good. Everybody take a little sip off their coffees or drinks while they're in there. We have a virtual auditorium, too, with a lot of guests that are in there. So, on it. Yep. Everybody have a drink of their coffee or whatever they got going there.
Okay.
Whenever he's ready.
So wonderful that he is providing a lot of information. And for those listeners out there, you can visit Derek Acorah's website at www.derekacora.com. That's A-C-O-R-A-H.
Sorry to keep you there Tuesday, Angela.
Oh, that's fine, Derek. We were just giving your website out.
Okay.
All right, so Derek, I want to talk a little bit about your gifts. Could you share with us what gifts that you work with?
Yes. I am, as I understand, and have done for quite a while now, that I'm a natural clairvoyant, and also over the years my development of the clairaudience I've developed very strongly. Naturally, I've always been psychic, but the combination of these two gifts, the clairvoyance and the clairaudience, I would use the word married together so well that, well, at times it's sheer joy to be delivering anything at all of messages or from loved ones back to the loved ones back here in the physical life. It's just sheer joy to me. That the longer it goes on, sometimes I pinch myself and I say, how wonderful this is. And I'm not talking about ego now. I'm talking about the gifts and to use the gifts responsibly.
Certainly.
How fortunate I am as a man to be able to deliver at times these wonderful, wonderful emotional connections. So to me, the clairvoyance and the clairaudience are very strong. I'm also natural, which I didn't know until I started trying it. I'm a natural psychometrist as well. I also, many, many years ago, when I started talking over the phone, going off voice vibration, I didn't realize that was all embroiled within my gifts as well.
Well, I read something about you being a seer, Derek.
Pardon?
I read something about you being considered a seer. Could you explain what a seer is?
Where did you read it? Could I ask you where you read that?
Well, on the internet. You know, we've both done a lot of research on you, and certainly have seen you on, you know, in the United States with Most Haunted and everything.
Yes.
But someone had described you as a seer.
Well, you know that word seer can be...
You know who wrote that about you, Derek? Oh, wait a minute. I got that information right here about this. I remember who Andy Lloyd did.
Andy?
He's the author of The Dark Star.
Oh, yes. Now, it's depending what Andy has been, you know, bring it into as an implication of using the word seer. Many, many, many years ago, on this earth, going back a long time now, people weren't classified as we would talk about mediums today or psychics. People were known as seers, weren't they?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And you've heard the word oracle, and you've heard, you know, different names that are being used across the planet at different times of life civilization. As far as myself as seeing is concerned, I am a seer. I have at times been fortunate to get a realization of something or many things and then make the quote or write it down for those conditions to manifest themselves either a day, a week, a month, 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, or even 3 years on from the time of that experience.
Oh, that's wow. Wow.
So basically, and this can be initiated and can come what's the word? Where I'm unprepared for it, really, in the sense it comes without any prompting.
Right.
It comes. It could come, say, after a night's sleep, or better still, with me when I sit in my meditations. And immediately coming out of a meditation, I would get these insights.
Well, I think a seer also, to me, I'm just going to put it out there, I think that seers have exceptional sight with spirit. I mean, I'm a seer, and this is not from ego, but the fact of it is that I have exceptional sight.
Yes.
And it's not always with my eyes closed. My eyes are wide open. I'm just looking at them as if they're right in front of them, whether I'm looking into another dimension. And so it is what it is. You have exceptional sight, and that's okay.
Well, you see, there are people who work for spirit that don't see objectively a spirit energy or entity. And there are people who see part. And there are people in our work who will see outline. Seeing, in my category, we're talking about in maybe a conversion with a spirit person. Yes, I do see. I see the spirit person very clearly. It's not subjectively. It was many, many years ago. 30-odd, 40-odd years ago, it started subjectively with a little bit of the object. But now, these days, and I like to believe that it's been done because of the period of time I've actually been working for Spirit, is that I like to think I've earned the right to actually see, but in a humble way, to see the
and what an extraordinary gift to be able to see the Spirit. Well, you know, Derek, I'd like to talk a little bit about your spirit guide, Sam.
Yes.
How did you first make the connection with him?
My first connection was in my mother's house. My first connection this life. What I would like maybe to speak about a previous time is that that in my previous lifetime, or the last life's incarnation, I was an Ethiopian child.
Cool. You got to walk
Sam
naked
was
then,
an
huh?
Ethiopian. And Sam in those days, I talked about it briefly before, was a seer in his day. And he knew my family, the family that I was with, that I was born of, in the village area of Ethiopia. And what Sam used to do was, I suppose in this day and age, people would call him a lazy person, because he certainly didn't work to earn his living. But what he did, he walked around, and he was prophet as well, I suppose, in the sense of the things what he could tell people. And he'd walk from town to town, great vast distances over a period of time, and we would probably see him as a family every 5, 6, maybe 7 months he'd pass through. And that was my previous lifetime with Sam, knowing him. However, a lot of people have asked me that question, how have I got to know this? Well, through insights and an amazing period of time where I'd go to sleep at night and I'd go into this dream state, and there I was in the village area, knowing who my family were, my brothers and sisters, knowing Sam. And that was given back to me in bits and pieces over a period of 6 months to give me the whole reality of the picture that I was in a lifetime in Ethiopia with Sam. And it was from knowing that, Sam probably helping me to recognize it in this lifetime, to make that connection. Now, ironically, my grandmother talked to me about my guide when I was only a young boy, but said the timing wasn't right. I wasn't old enough yet, but eventually he would make that first step forward and he would speak to me. And it didn't happen until I was way into my late teenage years, sitting in my mom's home, mid-afternoon with my family, when from just a conversation across the room to my older brother, Colin, suddenly I heard this voice speaking in English to me, if you like, not Ethiopian.
Right, okay.
And said who he was. Well, just for those couple of seconds, I looked across the room and realized that no one else could hear this.
Right.
So you know what I did, ladies? I bolted off the couch and ran up to my bedroom.
Oh.
Closed the door and sat keenly on the foot of my bed and sent a mental thought out. I didn't speak out loud. And suddenly he came back again. And he started telling me who he was. And had I enjoyed those nights of experiences, which he told me he made sure it had happened for me. And that he was going to work and looking forward to going to work with me later on as a medium, and told me the worth, his words, the worth of what I would be doing. And I always remember that mental conversation going on from me. I could hear him very, very clearly, but my thoughts, I wasn't speaking to him, I was just sending the thoughts out to him.
So you were hearing him. Were you seeing him at the same time also?
No, it was his voice.
Oh.
I saw him much, much later on. Much later. But of course, when my clairvoyance, even before my clairvoyance was, I suppose, semi-perfected.
Well, that must have confused you.
Pardon?
I said, that must have confused you, because
Well, it
that means
did.
you're hearing something in your head.
Yes, it did. And of course, knowing my background, I knew, people who talk about people like ourselves, we get classified all kinds of names, the person's schizophrenic, or the person's this, that, and the other, So basically, I had to really basically converse with him for a little while to start to trust the process. And then he told me he would step back, and I would be doing other things for a fixed period of time in my life. And when the time was right, he'd introduce himself back, and then we would get on with our spiritual work.
Well, you know, Sam has become just as popular as you have, Derek, because we've seen you on Most Haunted, and we've seen you communicate with Sam and ask for Sam's intercession there.
Yes.
So, lovely and amazing story, by the way. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Absolutely. And we need to go to a break right now. We'll be back shortly.
Keep listening.
I'm sorry about that. I sneezed about 20 times. I'm going to sneeze one more time.
You are listening to the Paranormal Radio Network.
Okay, we have 30 minutes, so we'll get to the ones that we have.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, thank you. And welcome back to Portal Paranormal Talk Radio. I'm your host, Tuesday Miles.
And I'm Angela Thomas.
And joining us today is Derek Acorah, the famous, world-renowned psychic medium, ghost hunter. I mean, there's a whole long list of what we can describe Derek Acorah's life is about, but we are honored to have you here today. You know that.
It's my pleasure.
We're so glad on it. Angela, where were we at? We
were just talking about the incredible story that Derek shared with us about his spirit guide, Sam.
You know, when you talk about that, I keep getting this, and it's funny that you brought this up because you said healing, and I kept thinking that Sam also maybe in his life was a healer.
Well, I firmly, that's what I was going to come on to and talk to you about it. Sam did heal. Sam was a healer as well. And he helped a lot of people in his time. A lot of people. And I feel possibly his encouragement to me is to make me realize as I'm going along which are the most important things for an effect to come out of. And as I say, I've always believed in the power of healing prayer for people, and I've actually seen it work so many times for people, you know, cures and things like this, you know, in this day and age. And I feel it's probably one of the most important things, because every person in their physical life at some time or other has a health problem, either attach itself to themselves, and they've got periods of great weakness, periods of times where they are deeply distressed, and this healing is probably one of the most important things that the spirit world can help us with.
Well, now you offer a healing page on your website at DerekAcorah.com. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Well, I agree with you that the healing power of prayer is extraordinarily strong.
Yes.
And so for those of you that are wishing to learn more about healing or need healing, please go to DerekAcorah.com and click on the healing page, and there you will find more information.
You know, I find also, too, when you reach a certain point in your life, a certain spot where you can offer that healing, because you've done already what your work was that you were called to do before, and it just seems that, you know, and I find that more healers are, you know, and I'm not saying Derek's old, don't put me there on this, but the fact is that as we mature, it seems that that I find more healers coming into their gifts on a later age.
Yes.
Huh. Okay. Angela?
Well, Derek, I'd like to go back a little bit about what you were describing. You know, you described the witches and things of this nature that you had encountered. Has there ever been a time in your personal life, away from your work, that you have been threatened by any sort of entity?
No. No. Away from my work, no, because I've noticed when I open up to do my spiritual work, whatever capacity it's in, it's always been in those confines of working. So no, I've not been personally had to engage with negativity outside my work, thankfully.
I see.
Oh,
I see.
honored. Do you, Derek? Thank you for answering that. If you had a choice on if Derek was not doing this line of work, what else would you do, Derek?
Oh, most definitely I would want to train to be a doctor.
There you go.
Ah, that's the healer in you, Derek.
Yes,
The
he
healer.
Yeah.
I agree with you, because that would be something that's what I would want to do. The only thing I think what kept me from being a doctor is that I couldn't spell all those long words, or say them, because the fact is, to learn all that, the vocabulary of a doctor is, but absolutely on it. Any specific type of doctor, Derek?
Well, I'd like to be specializing, possibly in one of the categories of our greatest diseases, I suppose. Your great things like, negative things like cancer and things like that. I'd want to be really, really specializing in that, I think.
Well, perhaps you'll write a book at least on healing, Derek, and the approach to even medical intuition. Do you ever enter that area, medical intuition?
I've had little bits and bobs of that, yes. And, when I go to a person, or I come into the company of a person, and suddenly to find, hey, I can speak about a diagnosis of a person who's actually afflicted with what I'm picking up, yes.
Well, Derek, speaking of medical and such, I'd like to touch upon a subject that not too many psychics are familiar with, and that is communicating with animals or psychic animals. Can you touch upon that or any of your experiences with that?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm a great believer. It's actually happening in my life, or was a little while back. Both my wife and I have always loved animals, always will. Presently, we've got 2 beautiful dogs and 2 beautiful cats. Now, before these 2 lovelies came along, meaning the 2 dogs, Jack and Penny, we had 2 dear other dogs called Cara and Bonnie. And we were very fortunate. Both of these girls were German Shepherds. And Cara had been with us for nearly 17 years before she had to leave us.
Wow.
Bonnie was only relatively young, at 7, a cancer took her. However, Cara, in the days that I used to do my private consultations in my office in Liverpool, Cara, from a 7-week-old puppy, used to come with me to work, and she would patiently sit with me underneath a desk. Best part of the time, the lovely people who were coming in for readings didn't know there was a dog there. And she'd just be happy to be there with me, and I would take her out for walks at lunchtime, and she could do her toiletries, and she'd come back for the afternoon session. Now, Cara was always, she fascinated me, and amazingly, so many times, that Cara knew whenever I was getting visitation from the world of spirit, Cara was seeing also. Now, whether she was seeing in the same capacity as myself, even to this day I can't make an honest quote on that. But what I do know is that in that question asked about can animals be, are dogs or cats psychic and what have you, Cara most definitely showed a side of her nature far beyond. In other words, Bonnie was aware when I'd get visitation, but not in the same way as Cara, because Cara would, body reactions to even manifestations and things like this. She'd be up there. Sometimes she'd even beat me to it.
Wow.
Bonnie would react only afterwards, knowing that either Cara or I were, in the presence of a visitation. So she'd join in then. But so I had we all had 17 wonderful, wonderful, wonderful years with Cara and 7 wonderful years with Bonnie. Now, we have Jack, who is a 3-year-old or 3.5-year-old poodle.
A poodle?
not a small poodle, but a standard poodle.
standard
You know,
poodle,
the
which is
original
the taller
poodles? The big dogs
Yes.
with tight brown curly hair.
Yes.
And he's got a cut on his coat now. It looks like a lion.
Oh.
And he's such a proud man.
Mm-hmm.
He sits back, and then, of course, then we have Penny, who's another German Shepherd, and her awareness is not as sharp as Jack's. However, if you ask me, is Jack in any way, or even Penny, any way near as psychic as what Cora was, I'd have to say no, they're not. So it's not a case that every single dog, or every cat, or every domesticated animal has those psychic abilities. Some have, and some don't have. Or some have a lesser degree, as others have a greater degree.
So do you feel that the animals have the psychic abilities because they're around you being a psychic?
I think it helps them. I think it bounces off them. I mean, they have to rely on their instincts far more sharper than even ourselves. You know, when we talk about our gifts and what we have and our eyesight, hearing, well, dogs' eyesight and hearing is so much more concentrated, stronger than even ours, isn't it?
It is.
Exactly.
So basically, if they're honed into that purely instinct level, that helps a dog or a cat disengage sometimes from the mentality of the norm, the now, onto the realm of spirit.
Yeah, I know those poodles. I had one as a family pet myself, a standard poodle she lasted 18 years, and I have her buried in my backyard behind us, and used to hear her fingernails click across the kitchen floor, which at the time we didn't know exactly what that was, and I had not completely opened up all my gifts. So I still wasn't recognizing that until I found her ball one day as I was digging in the backyard.
Yes.
And I buried it next to her. It had her name on it, and the clicking stopped.
Yes.
And
yes.
so, amazingly, and that's on it. You know, I believe the fact is that, you know, our animal spirits are around us constantly.
Yes, they are. They can be, and they are. Because, you know, that tie of love, it stands to me in logic as well, that tie of love that they've had for whatever amount of years with you, around you, just like ourselves, that can't diminish, that can't perish. That is not just universal, that is what we call unpenetrable. It's that tie of love does bring them back, brings them back many times, because they're never likely to forget that comradeship, that love that was contained between the two of you. And that's the reason. Just like how our human spirit loved ones, like fathers and mothers, that's why they come back, because of that love, that non-conditional love.
Certainly.
That a love that's far greater than anything that we can really comprehend here.
Well, I am sure that, you know, the connection as you are speaking is very strong, and I know that that's a comfort, Derek, to those people listening to the show who have lost their beloved animals as well.
They haven't lost. It's an au revoir, just for the time being.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. On it.
Only for the time being.
I think I have a cat that keeps healing himself because he has tumors all throughout him, and gets to that day where we think this is the last day, and 2 days later, he's acting like he's a teenager again.
He's back up again, yes.
Well, Derek, as a psychic,
Yes.
and doing all the work and traveling all over the world, have you or do you go to another psychic for information, or do you totally rely on your spirit guide, Sam?
Yes. Now, many, many years ago, I trusted two people who I'd known within the field of our work, and occasionally, I would go to either one of these two lovely people. Fortunately, those lovely people are now on the higher side of life, but I stopped doing it, I would say, it has to be 19, 20 years ago.
Wow.
That was the last time I ever did it. As far as relying on maybe the connections with Sam or what have you, I in these years, don't feel the need for asking for things for myself, purely and simply because I believe that universally I'm going to be taken care of and mine's going to be taken care of in exactly the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So why ask for insights? Why not experience the newness of surprise?
That's a great answer on that. How about your wife, Gwen? Does she ask you for...
No, she doesn't. And from day one, bless her, she said, don't you ever, I love you, but don't you ever expect or even say to me, Gwen, do you want me to see what insights I get? Because I don't want to know. She's similar to me in the sense, the way I look at things now. Gwen's always thought she doesn't want to know. She wants to experience this lifetime of what it's meant to, in other words, without getting insights.
Right.
Because she maybe fears that if something is not quite right sounding to her or doesn't fit right with her, she could do something about it to change it, and she doesn't believe that we should be changing anything.
Oh, I agree with that, and that's the same thing. Not to put down that movie, that's The Secret, but there were some things I felt that way in there that maybe we don't want to do something different to make everything work right. That we need to go through some of those lessons to get to where we're at in the end. So
that's right.
On that, and so. Derek, is there any Hollywood famous TV star or movie star that you would like to work with or connect with in spirit?
Oh, gosh, I've never thought of that. Connect with from the world of spirit that you're talking about?
Sure.
Oh, yes. Well, there was, and there has been. When I did 2 evenings, 2 shows on Hollywood Boulevard at the old theater called the Vogue Theater. On 2 different occasions to 2 audiences, and one evening, one of the connections, a man who I dearly liked as an actor, and I watched him over a number of years in different shows, actually came through to me, and family members of his were in the audience, and I was shocked. I was in my way of saying, blown away, because here I have a man who's come in and telling me his name before I even see him, and then just giving me the name Michael, and then telling me that how he passed, and then suddenly to show himself to me, and I was knocked back. And I said, Michael Landon.
Wow.
And the man came to me on the stage, and his family were in the audience to pass on this treasured message.
And that is incredible, Derek. So how did the family respond?
Yes. Oh, they jumped out the seats.
And
screamed and shouted, Derek, here. And I knew the area where I was supposed to go because Michael had told me some of his family were there. And I'm saying, it's how many rows back? And by this time, they shouted it up to me. And, I'd heard then that they were absolutely thrilled of what had been told, what he passed the message on to.
Well, we would love to see more of your work, and I understand that you have a new release called Ghost Tour Live.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that work?
Thank you.
Okay. Well, the Ghost Tour Live basically is when I'm on a tour, what we call a theatre tour, and I have to drive, or be driven, I should say, from town to town, where I'll be doing an evening of clairvoyance and clairaudience in a theatre in a given city. It starts where you will see me just generally traveling, talking about my aspirations, hoping, just a dialogue of that way. Then you will see a portion of myself, I suppose like a diary, in my dressing room, preparing, letting people see what I get up to hours before I go and do an evening like this. They see me sitting in meditation. I'll do a short piece to the camera. Then it will follow me out onto the stage to the applause of the people. Then the actual readings of the connections I'm making with their loved ones, those people in the audience. They're on camera. They're actually, you see them, they're receiving these messages. You see the reaction, you see their emotions, you see the tears, you see the laughter, you see the sheer joy that there could be connecting a lovely lady with with her husband who may have only passed over 6 months ago, or it could be a mother connecting with her son who's tragically killed in an accident, or it could be a mother who's connecting with their daughter who committed suicide, or it could be a grandmother connecting with a little child that has gone over through illness. It's so emotional and touching, and I just hope that the people...
how healing that kind of work is. And so again, I have to highly recommend Derek Acorah's Ghost Tour Live, a new DVD, and you can get that at www.derecacorah.com, and we will also place that on the portaltalkradio.com site. Derek, we have about 5 minutes, and I do want to go over some of the books that you have out, and I'm hoping, by the way, that you do a book on healing and prayer. But
yes.
You have contributed and also written Haunted, the Scariest Stories from the UK's #1 psychic.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Derek Acorah's Extreme Psychic. You've also written The Psychic Adventures of Derek Acorah,
Yes.
the star of TV's Most Haunted, Haunted Britain, Haunted Britain and Ireland.
And the psychic world of Derek Acorah, discover how to develop your hidden powers. I mean, he's got Ghost Hunting with Derek Acorah, Derek Acorah's Amazing Psychic Stories. I'd love to read that one, too.
The thing is this, Derek, you have contributed on all genres all over the world, and we've got to thank you, number one, for being who you are and sharing your gifts with the world, and also thank you very much for being on the show tonight.
Well, it's my absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on your show, and I hope all your listeners, have enjoyed and maybe gained something from my pleasure of actually speaking to you lovely ladies.
Well, we welcome you in America anytime, and I welcome you to California if you'd ever like to return. We've got lots of ghosts here that would love to talk with you, and we want to see more of you south this way on
Yes.
it. So,
Well, that you don't know. Maybe as the lovely universe works, maybe I will get, the opportunity, maybe not too far from now, to grace lovely America again. Grace the sense of going to you and the lovely, caring American people. I can only hope that dream and hope is brought into reality.
We're looking forward to seeing you again in your new works, Derek.
Thank
you very much for gracing us with this interview tonight.
Well,
God bless
you. God bless you both. It's been a sheer pleasure.
Oh, well, you know what? We'll do it again soon.
I hope so.
Anytime. You're welcome here.
Tuesday, Angela, it's been a wonderful experience. You sound very lovely human beings. It's been a pleasure.
Thank
As
you.
are you.
Good night,
Thank
Derek.
you, Derek. Good night.
Good night and God bless.
God bless you. Well, you've been listening live on UPRN 105.8 New Orleans, and I am your host, Angela Thomas.
And I'm your host, Tuesday
The person you called is no longer on the line.
Thank you. And thank you all for
You may
listening
dial
to
now.
Derek Acorah Live. Good night, and God bless.
For other options, press pound.
Press pound. We have a ghost talking to us. Do you hear that, Angela?
Certainly.
You may dial now.
You can dial now.
For other options, press pound.
I'm sorry, I don't have a pound. I think we're going to go to a break. Are we coming back?
The number you entered is not correct.
Good night.
Your call cannot be completed. Thank you for using AT&T.
Bye-bye. Our station manager, we have a ghost on the line. Do you hear that? Hello, Joe Montaldo.
All right, so Tuesday, apparently our station manager won't be going to break. So let's talk about this incredible interview with Derek Acorah.
Angela, we're off the air.
Are we?
Mm-hmm. I had a red dot him.
No, we're live.
No, can you guys hear us? We're having station identification problems.
Okay, good. They can't hear.
Thank you. See, I red dotted him to shut him off because he was, He's not by the computer is what's happening.
No, we're live in the room now.
Okay, welcome back to Portal Paranormal Talk Radio. I'm your host, Tuesday Miles.
And I'm Angela Thomas.
Well, Derek just left us, and what a great interview that was, and all of a sudden we started having ghost activity.
Yeah, the AT&T kind.
Yeah.
Well, what an amazing guest, Tuesday. I mean, Derek Acorah is known all over the world, and I'm sure some of our listeners have actually viewed him on the Travel Channel, for example, with Most Haunted Live. I mean, very good shows, Ghost Towns. But, you know, the one thing I haven't seen yet is the Paranormal Egypt. And I understand there's 8 series of that program.
Yeah, there was. You know, I mean, this is the thing with Derek, you know, I mean, and it's not just Derek. I mean, it's anybody who does these type of TV shows. Anything about ghosts, anything about you being psychic. And you get these people that just want to blatantly attack you. You know, they just want to prove, you know, and they'll do anything they can that this is all a hoax. Well, you know what? This is the thing on it with TV. Yes, it is true authentic psychics. It is true authentic ghost hunters. It's entertainment also. It's entertainment also. So you have to remember the fact is that, you know, I mean, can a psychic be turned on 24/7? Well, maybe there's a little downtime where they're at, you know, and they're still got to entertain in the ghost show. And, you know, I mean, that's what it's about. I have to say, it's, you know, it's not fake. Maybe there was some that was from somebody else, but generally it's not. It's all real TV, but it's also entertainment. But
well, you know, the proof is in the pudding, Tuesday. And so
yeah,
when you have things on film, and you have things that are occurring live in front of thousands of people, one cannot deny it.
No, yes, they can, Angela. You would be surprised. I mean, and this is the thing. There doesn't need to be any nastiness. You know, listen, the fact is that Derek Acorah has done a lot of good for people, and he's worked really, really hard for it. You know, this is something that he's done all his life. He's 58 years old. He's worked hard.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and he's gotten ridiculed a lot about it too, and I don't think that's fair.
Well, you know, but more than ridicule, though, is the positive messages about Derek Acorah. In fact, you know, going through all of the research prior to this interview with him tonight, I came across how those television people approached him, and it was all really by word of mouth.
You know what?
Because his name kept on coming up over and over again.
Absolutely. And, you know, and the fact of it is, this is, you know, as we were going back, you know, 8 TV shows, not just one, 8, which means is that each one of them could have had 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons on each one of them. You know, how many DVDs was there? There was
7 DVDs.
7 DVDs. His books, he had 8 books plus 2 more that he contributed to. They're using his work at 2 universities to teach by. I mean,
and that says a lot.
You know, you get on the
really
net, and
says a lot.
You know, there's people that give all kinds of validations of readings that they have received from him. I mean, you know, this is the point that I like about it, Angela. When, you know, and we didn't get to ask him, you know, when does Derek Acorah retire? Because what does a psychic do when they retire? I mean, can we ever retire?
Well, you know, he actually brought that up in a private conversation. He said, one of these days when I slow down, my wife and I would like to spend more time at our home in Spain. And the thing is, though, that he is being approached for another television show.
Another? Okay.
So isn't that something? But, you know, out of all of the books and such that he has, the one, and I want you to put this out to the agent, is The Psychic World of Derek Acorah. Discover how to develop your hidden powers. And I'm wondering if it was that particular book that prompted the universities to use and teach parapsychology to the students.
Well, you know, I laugh when they say powers. The fact is that, you know, I mean, again, you know, I mean, you know, the fact is that, you know, me being a psychic medium, I always tell my husband, don't you cross my line, because I'll use my powers on you. You know, and he's seeking powers. Okay, I'm really not sure what powers means, but I'm not going to go there. You know?
Well, you know, of course, like you said earlier in the interview, it's actually we're putting out our energies, but some people do interpret that as powers.
Oh yeah, and it's referred to it. This sounds funny from our end. It just
well, it might sound a little bit egotistical if we were to say, "Oh, yes, I have this particular power."
I'm not a Power Ranger. I'm just a girl. I'm just a woman. I'm just a PTA
but
mom.
No, you're just a girl with the abilities, though.
Yeah, well.
And how to develop that particular energy going out there. And for those of you that are listening to the show, we would love to hear about your experiences as a psychic and also your experiences with psychics in general. So if you've ever gone to see a psychic, or if you've had your own medium experiences or channeling, certainly send it to info@portaltalkradio.com. We would love to air your story.
And, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I have to say, I had a listener who was tuning into our show email me and regarding some activity they were having. It's disturbing activity. It was something that really was bothering them and has been for a while. Well, you know what? The fact of it is that on these little ads, maybe it's a laundromat or ads in these little, book papers that they have come out, was a psychic advertising her services and ripped off this woman $450 that she claimed that she could clear the energy. She'd never been out to this woman's house, but she could do it over remotely or over the phone, not knowing or not being able to identify what's going on with her, and then told her that, okay, I've identified it, now I need another $450 for me to proceed to get rid of it.
Oh, wow. Well,
So-
we do have to put out, a word of caution. I always highly recommend that people do their research. The Internet is a powerful tool to use. See if there are testimonials out there or any kind of feedback, positive or negative. At least you can make a more informed decision before seeing that particular psychic.
But you know what? If you run across a situation that and somebody asks you for money for that, report them. Report them to the Better Business Bureau. I don't care what you do, but the fact is that is very unethical for them to do that. To me, it's ripping you off blindly. It's misleading you, and anything else. And the fact is, they need to be put out of business.
Well, yes, and a lot of people do that. Like you gave the example of somebody saying,
so
"I'll
mad.
charge $400 to identify it, and then I need a $400 more to clear it." But how often have you heard of particular people talking about, even candles, which cost maybe $1 at a store? And somebody posing as a psychic says, for $700 you can have this candle that will eliminate your problems in your life. And we just know it's not true.
Well, you know what, though? Wait a minute, though, Angela, because we do have, our traditions out there, with our Wiccan and Pagan, who really do use a lot of candles in their rituals.
Well, yeah, but that's different. We're talking about, the power of intent, the power of prayer, and things of that. But it's, what I'm speaking about is someone that is posing as a spiritualist or posing as a psychic or medium and says, you know what, this particular candle for $700 will get rid of your problem or cause certain things to happen that you want.
Yeah.
Let's say for your lover to come back to you or to keep your enemy away.
Well,
Just
there's
for,
some people
for
that believe
$700 you can have this glass and wax.
Yeah, but there's some people out there that really believe in that stuff. I mean, and maybe it might work. Who's to say all things are possible? Maybe it might work for you. Maybe the intention set might bring that boyfriend who is a pain in the rear that doesn't do anything and is lazy and sits on the couch and that you want them back, of course. But, on that note, on it, though, too, Angela, we did celebrate our year anniversary.
We certainly
We
did.
did. And,
I'm so thrilled.
This has been great. The fact of it is the reason why I did the show is because I just felt that I reached a place in my life where I had gone through many of the experiences that other listeners have gone through, and I just made a promise that, you know what, I don't want anybody else to go through what I went through and not find somebody they can relate to, or find somebody that can say, hey, you know what, can you listen to my story? Can you at least try to believe my story? Can I talk about my story? And open up a forum and a place for them to go to. For these paranormal investigators who work endless hours and use their family's money to help other people for them to come to our show and talk about what they've discovered or what they can do to help others that are experiencing it. Whether it's miracles or whether it's angels or whether it's, something that has spots all over it, or whatever it is on it. Still, there's an open place where they can come and talk about it.
Well, true. And, our guests, Tuesday, have been those that are experts in their field, and so they've been really able to offer valuable information for mass audiences. And it does make a difference because you and I both receive phone calls and emails from people all over the place describing how a particular guest has influenced their life or how a particular resource that was handed to them, through the station has made a tremendous difference in their lives.
Right, on that one. We need to make a couple announcements because we're getting close to our ending our show here in about 10 minutes on it. And so let's give out the UpSnap information.
Well, we now have two ways of accessing the show, and that is through UpSnap. And UpSnap will allow you to download your shows, or this show, or any show on the Paranormal Radio Network. Simply text PARA 27627 on your mobile phone, or call 201-765-9737 to request the show be heard on your car radio.
Oh, that's excellent.
It is an excellent, excellent service.
And we've got all this information on the portal site, which is the 3Ws, portaltalkradio.com. There's also, plenty of places all over the site that if you need to email Angela and I, you can contact us. We each have our own page. You can go in there and actually click on to our own personal website. On it, Angela does do readings, and if you'd like to have a reading done from Angela, you can contact her through there and arrange that. And Angela is absolutely awesome in her readings. So
well, thank you very much, Tuesday. I appreciate that.
You're welcome on that. You know what? I've seen your work. It's not that I'm just saying that because you're my co-host and you can do voodoo on me, but I'm saying that because you are absolutely awesome with your readings, and it's a lot of people think that way.
Well, I certainly appreciate it, and you don't know how many times I've heard Tuesday Miles gave me a session, and you're a magnificent medium, by the way, and your work is well known.
Oh, stop! But you know what? It's you're the one that's the hardest one to get for me to do the readings on, because after the fact, and then I give it to you, and what happens the next day? It happens, doesn't it?
Well, I have to share with our listeners that there's many times that Tuesday and I have been in personal conversation, and she has brought up particular personal details about my own life and what's going on, and we'll just put it out there of what's about to happen around the corner, and it happens like clockwork. So I'm always telephoning or emailing Tuesday saying, you know what, you were absolutely right. Tuesday, I want to talk really quick about the next weekend show with Richard Sennett.
Oh, you know what? I love him. He's pretty cool. He's got, talk about having some stories. He really has some stories. He's located up towards Ventura, California, and he's been ghost hunting for a really, really long time, but he's got he does ghost tours and training, and he's got classes, and he does it all. There's this guy who's been around the block. He reminds me of Peter James. He really has, because he's been in this business for a very long time, and he's got some really great stories. He's got there's a couple places down there that he regularly investigates, so he knows the place, on it. I'll let him disclose where it's at, but he'll be such a really great guest on it. We've got. Actually, after that...
Well, I said next Friday in prime time from 9 to 11 Eastern,
yes.
8 to 10 Central.
Yes.
But he is actually coming on Friday the 11th.
The 11th, but on the 4th of July, is that what you're talking about?
Well, actually, the 4th of July is a special show that will be aired.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
And following Richard Sennett on the 11th will be Rita Berkowitz on Friday the 18th. And Rita, by the way, is a spirit artist as well as a well-known spiritualist and psychic.
Yes, you know what? You usually ought to see her work. Her website is actually www.spiritartist.com. Yes, it is on it. And then we have William Buhlman. Is it Buhlman?
Yes, William Buhlman, author and also psychic of astralinfo.org.
I have to sneeze.
Visit his site because he's going to be such a phenomenal guest.
I have sneezed more times. I think I just sneezed and blew my wig.
Oh, well.
We've got Michael Keenan then, also, too, with it. And then we have, we have Dr. Deborah. We have Richard, how do you pronounce Richard's last name? Fulkus?
Well, actually, it's Dr. Deborah Richmond Fulks.
Okay, that's what it is.
And what a unique story she has, one that has never appeared before, and I'm glad to have her on the show. And following that is Peter Victor. Peter Victor, by the way, is a psychotherapist, and this man's meditations has taken him all over the world. He has meditated with the Dalai Lama.
That would be cool.
And some very high spiritual leaders all over the world. So he's going to share with us his secrets to meditation.
Are we having paranormal things again going on, Angela?
Well, apparently so, but let me just go on because we will be ending the show soon.
Let me talk about this real quick. Nadine, okay. Wait, hold on, I have to sneeze again. I tell you, Nadine LaLynch, okay.
Yes.
Nadine LaLynch has been a contactee with ufology, UFOs, for a long time, and 3 years ago she decided to come out of the closet about it and talk about it and write about it. She wrote a book about it. I spoke with her the other day, and I have to say to you that I can hardly wait till she's on the show, because the fact is that, you know, you get some people that talk about this and you kind of think, you know, that is so far out. You know, I just can't see that belief system with it. But with what she knows and with what these aliens have, these types of aliens that have you know, that contacted her, you know, I have to say to you, Angela, she just has this amazing story.
Well, you know, one of the things about it, Tuesday, is that her book called Alien Experiences is going to be released in July, and she has given Portal Paranormal Talk Radio the exclusive interview.
Yes, you know what? That is so true.
So, you know, we're very proud that we have this exclusive interview with Nadine, because certainly there are people in line just waiting for her. So it is very high in ufology and very high in the media. So look to see Nadine on television, a lot of stories that's going to be surrounding her alien experiences.
Absolutely on this, and you know, we wish her well during this, because it is difficult to open up to something that, you know, and she's a professional lady. This is not a lady that just, you know, sits behind a, you know, and pushes pencils. She's an attorney. She's very, you know, I mean, very professional what she does. Now a writer, actually, because the fact is that here she, you know, she wrote this amazing book. So on it, we have Angelina Diana coming up too.
Oh, I know, and she's coming back for the second time. And Tuesday, what about the enormous response for Angelina and Diana? She's going to appear on Friday the 15th of August, and so wonderful lady, and I'm sure you all have seen her in the news.
People really are. She's in like a high demand state with her.
She's very high demand, high demand.
Making herself known all over the place on it. You know, you and I have a special that we're doing with Joanne Gerber on August the 4th. It's a spirit chat, and this thing, you know, is supposed to be extremely huge, and I hope all you guys come over and hang out with us there, because, you know, I'm a little bit intimidated when there's like 900 plus people that are attending this event, and it's an online event actually, but it's hosted through some radio programs and through some magazines, and with Joanne and Angela and I are being special guests that day. So come and hang out with us.
Yeah, that's Monday, August 4th, and we'll certainly put in the resources and the direct link on the Portal Talk Radio website. Going to be a very interesting show Tuesday.
It's going to be very interesting. And then also, too, I was getting a lot of email about Peter James. You know, the Peter James site is still on Portal. You can go in and sign his guest book anytime. His family does read the guest book, and it has been very comforting to them and healing, seeing so many people out there who loved him.
And there's a new film, is that right, coming out about Peter James?
Yeah, it's going to be a little while before that gets actually to the public, but his death anniversary is coming up on the 31st of July, so what I'll do is I'll put a special memorial, another special anniversary memorial book on it, and you'll be able to go in and sign that again.
Well, as we discussed the other day, Tuesday, we understand that Sam Elliott is being approached to play Peter James.
Isn't he gorgeous? I love that guy.
He is a gorgeous actor, and of course a very good actor. And I couldn't think of a more appropriate person.
I know it. I can hardly wait. He just fits Peter perfectly on it. Just really does.
Absolutely.
Oh my
absolutely.
gosh, it's so funny. I mean, I couldn't believe it when they mentioned him. I'm like, oh, that's just so perfect on it. So, well, Angela, we actually have a couple minutes left on it. Oh, this has been, a long week for both of us. We've had 2 shows back to back on it, but it's been, well worth it. The fact is that we had Chip Coffey and David Miller on Friday night.
Oh, I know. Wasn't that exciting?
That was a really great show, and Chip's such a nice guy. He sent us, a really nice thank you letter in regarding having him on the show. As busy as he is, he had time to sit down and write a thank you letter. So that was nice.
Sweet.
And with David Miller too, that was a treat. I had not heard of David Miller. We all know who Ryan Bueller is, but we didn't never hear of David Miller. So
well, David Miller is the producer of Paranormal State and Psychic Kids, Children of the Paranormal. So isn't it wonderful to have received a perspective from a producer side of the fence, and then have, of course, Chip Coffey following that interview with David. And Chip is a very warm and open guy, very generous in helping young children manage their psychic gifts. And then today with Derek Acorah, how special is that? Because we have brought to you, our listeners, some of the biggest names in the psychic and paranormal fields. And so it's because of your listening into the show that we are able to, appeal to those psychics and those investigators who want to be on the show. So thank you very much for supporting Portal.
And we're going to be going into actually having some of our other guests come on who is going to do more of some teaching shows where you can learn more about your dowsing, because I know that we really got a big response about Joey Korn, and because the fact is that he was really teaching everybody how to use a dowsing rod, how to use a pendulum, stuff this way that you can be educated on also too. So I know that we've seen your request. We're just trying to fit things in. We got real booked, and that's what happens is that when you're booked 4 or 5 months in advance, that it's hard to fit other people in there. But we are going back to that where we're having some of our guests actually doing some teaching.
Well, not just 4 or 5 months in advance, Tuesday, a year.
Well, we asked for these things on this, Angela. Oh my gosh!
But we are blessed. We are blessed, and again, I just appreciate everyone's support for Portal Paranormal Talk Radio. For more information about the show, go to portaltalkradio.com. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful show. Our first special. And Tuesday, I'm just thrilled again that Derek Acorah had agreed for the interview, because it's not too often that any show is able to have him on.
Well, it was hard to get him on the show. I mean, the fact is he lives in Spain, I'm in California, and so trying to coordinate with him and his publicist, and getting everything set up. So it really took us a couple months to get a date and a time that he was available, because he's so busy.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
well, any last words, Tuesday?
Yes. Well, anyways, you are listening to Portal Paranormal Talk Radio. I'm your host, Tuesday Miles.
And I'm Angela Thomas.
And everybody have a great week. God bless each other. And, be good to yourself and each other. Bye-bye.